Let me go to my guests. Sarah, you have my deepest apologies. I should have told my
Oh
mom that I was sending her the link. My phone hadn't been set up entirely. And so I
no.
just kept the same
Okay.
process. We were up
Oh,
all
you're fine.
night setting that phone up and trying to get that thing straight. I am sorry. That's on
You're
me. I should have
fine.
given her a heads up that I
I
was
know
doing that.
the stress of having broken electronics, but at least you have a momager to
That's what my
your
secretary.
mom is the sweetest lady. At least you
Well,
have a momager.
she was radically supportive, like especially this last several weeks.
No.
Um, Booking guests for me, contacting guests for me.
Is she for
Um,
hire?
is she for hire? Maybe, yeah. If she can make some extra money, yeah.
She's
I pay
enjoying
her with love and affection and attention and thank yous. But if you want to pay her cash, I think she would work for
it.
you. But no, she did fantastic. She was
Yeah,
sending the
she's
guests,
great.
the invites, all that stuff. No, she was fantastic. She has my deepest appreciation. You know what's funny? It pissed my ex-girlfriend off.
Your mom was doing your communications
Yes, because my ex is deeply jealous. Deeply jealous.
of your mother?
And she has, yes, she has a way about it. Right. And when I got on the show, I think it was like last week, I was like, I would like to thank my ex. She did, because she like booked one or two guests. I was like, I really want to thank her for it. And then I was like, I really need to thank my mom also because my mom went to get the phone and everything else. Like, what she doesn't quite get is for a person like in their 70s who has difficulty walking to go to a store, pick up a device, have to stay in that store and deal with paperwork and everything, mail
Right.
that device is a big deal. You booking two guests sitting on your ass is a nicety, and I appreciate it. But they're not equal, right? And she heard that, and she was like, "How dare you? You didn't give me any credit at all." I was like, "Dude, I thanked you in the video. How are you like? How do you take a thank you as a insult?" Like,
Yeah.
it
You didn't
was it
thank
was
me enough.
it was strange. That's all.
That
My
was
mom has
so
been doing God's work, and I deeply appreciate it for her.
yeah, she's
Um,
great.
yeah, at this point, I told my ex. She said something like, "Oh, I could do this." Like,
Just
the
put her
two,
on
the
a
two,
leave without, or just put her on leave without pay. Just say you're on an administrative leave for now.
what I told her was because she was like, "Well, you should have just got the phone here," and I was like, "Look, things with you come with strings attached." She was like, "What? Forget I said that." I like forget I said that. Well, let's pretend I didn't say that, right? I don't want to get into
Right.
it. Thank you for coming on. It's my main point. The audience, this is too much background, and if she watches this video, she's going to lose her mind.
Yes, she is.
Thank you for coming on.
Of
You
course.
are you have the privilege of being on the 50,000th subscriber show.
You hit 50,000. Congratulations.
Thank you. I blew past it last night.
That's fantastic. It was probably because of your mom's energy. Your mom's giving the good energy to the show.
She gives good, yes. And you know what's funny? The chat is like, does she get paid for this?
Mm.
And she's like, that's my son. No,
Oh, well, of
I want to
course.
see him succeed. And she like is this good energy on the chat. All right, guys, we're almost at 700,000, 700. Let's keep going. Like it's good, right? It's the
Yeah,
team. If I could
great.
pay her, Lord knows I would.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
well
you.
deserved.
So I before you got on, I didn't realize I went on that long, given the context of what is happening in Europe, what is taking place in regards to negotiations, how Europe is freaking out and losing their mind and doing any and everything in their power to stop any peace process that may be taking place. And I showed them this video of Witkoff, because Witkoff is taking slings and arrows, and yet Trump continues to use them for everything. Like, meaning Trump has sidelined the entire State Department for a business guy who knows nothing about negotiations and has used them entirely for negotiations.
Mhm.
That's astonishing. And it
Why?
means something. Give me a take on what that means. I've had other people
I
point out, like,
describe this whole, forgive me, I do blame Trump to a degree, but I really just think the incompetence is just surrounding Trump. They're just so incompetent. It's like this motley crew, and you're just like, you don't even really have answers. Even as an analyst, you're like, I don't, really know the plan or what to make of this. Steve Witkoff is a terrible match to be negotiated with the Russians. You could tell by the way that the tone was after he left the meeting. It's just, I don't know.
Oh, I so disagree.
Do you? You like Steve Witkoff?
I don't know him
He's
to
better
like him.
than Kellogg, that's for sure.
Right. Look, I will tell you why. Like, okay, I'll use the term like, even though I don't know if I can really use that term. I don't know if I have the full embodiment of that term, right? I like Kabutos. I like Captain D's. I don't know if I can say I like Witkoff, but I would prefer him. I'll say it that way. He knows nothing about negotiations. He's a real estate guy.
True. Well,
And he's not ideological, per se. Meaning he may be ideological towards profit, but in this foreign policy stuff, he doesn't, these are just things that he needs to deal with, negotiate. He's Trump's guy. And it's almost like Trump is saying, I don't trust these neocons. They have their own ideological agendas. I got screwed over last time by the Pompeos, the John Boltons. I don't want those people. Rubio is one of those people. Hegseth is one of those people. I don't want those people. I don't want Kellogg doing that. So I'm going to bring my own guy in, a guy who I trust, who may not know this stuff, but at the very least can take my vision and spread it across the world in these negotiations. And so, yes, I'm going to send him to talk to the Russians. And when he comes back and he says, okay, if you want a deal, 4 regions, no NATO, Zelensky needs to go. Well, he gives that to Trump the way it is. And Trump makes the decision one way or another on whether to do it. And Witkoff says, if you want to end it, this is how you do it. Okay, would Rubio have done that? Would Kellogg have done that? No. Witkoff does. And they attack him for it. And Trump backs him and says, all right, now go to Iran. Okay, that's pretty astonishing. Because what it means is that he has taken Trump's vision. It's almost like the hand of the king and his eyesight. It's almost like if Trump had a mechanical device in his head that would look at, listen to, and report back exactly what was said without the ideological framing on it. That's Witkoff.
I
That's
see
why
that.
I like
I could see that. Yeah, especially being a real estate guy. It's funny because that would make sense because I don't think it was this negotiation. It was a prior negotiation. I said, why are they running it like a real estate deal where the broker kind of runs back and forth between the sides and they don't talk to one another? Now,
the Iran deal. Yeah, the Iran thing.
Yeah.
But for the European deal, this video
Go ahead.
had a collective shit fit in Europe. And I'm fascinated by this video because what Witkoff is saying here is, look, we are talking to the Russians about a fundamental change in the context of the relationship between the United States and Russia in a way that would solidify Europe for the foreseeable future. What's fascinating about it is Europe is not included in those negotiations.
Right.
That's astonishing, right? And so you can imagine if you're Europe and you're hearing that, you're like, wait a minute. So you've effectively put Ukraine as a piece of a larger deal that you guys are making that we know nothing about.
Correct.
Now, Witkoff, once again, after leaving Oman, goes to Paris to talk to the Europeans to explain the deal and to take shit from the Europeans because they don't like him. And then he gets back on a plane to go back to Oman to go with more negotiations for Iran. Again, Trump is using him for everything. It's astonishing. This is this video that I think that had the collective shit fit in Europe and in the United States by the neocons saying, oh my God, Witkoff is a Russian stooge. it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they keep using this guy.
I think you used a very good word there, Sean, emerging. I do. This is the 3rd meeting I've had with him. This last meeting lasted close to 5 hours. We had 2 of his key advisors in the room at the time, Ushakov and Kirill Dmitriev. And it was a compelling meeting. And towards the end, we actually came up with, and I'm going to say finally, but I don't mean it in the way that we were waiting. I mean it in the way that it took a while for us to get to this place. What Putin's request is to have a permanent peace here. So beyond a ceasefire, we got an answer to that.
Okay, and will the deal include things that maybe are out of the box that people aren't thinking about now? I would imagine Vladimir Putin probably would want to be in business with the U.S. and with Europe. Is that a potential that could come out of this?
There's no doubt about it. I mean, this peace deal is about these so-called 5 territories, but there's so much more to it. There's security protocols. There's no NATO, Article 5. I mean, it's just, a lot of detail attached to it. It's a complicated situation, rooted in some real problematic things happening between the two countries. And I think we might be on the verge of something that would be very, very important for the world at large. On top of that, I believe there's a possibility to reshape the Russian-United States relationship through some very compelling commercial opportunities that I think give real stability to the region too. Partnerships create stability.
Right there. A complete reevaluation of the relationship between Russia and the United States for the foreseeable future in a way where we are not hostile, we're not in this Cold War mentality, but we have entanglements financially that effectively make us want to be friends. That's amazing. Give me your take on that, because Europe heard that and was like, "Oh my God."
Well, he can
What the
hope
fuck
and
are they
dream.
doing?
He can hope and dream all he wants. See, the advantageous part about Russia is that Putin has been in power this whole time, so there's no goldfish brain, there's no amnesia. They remember Minsk 1 and 2, and they know the parties that were involved. And not for nothing, Trump goes back and forth all of the time. I sent them javelins too. If I was president, it would have never happened. Then why were you sending them javelins? So it's like you can hope and dream. Russians don't want a relationship with America. They might want the goods, they might want the manufactured products, but they don't want a friendship. We're coming out of an almost century-long Cold War where we did nothing but denigrate Russia and keep it down. Now we're trying to do the same thing to China and Europe. That's what this is really about, the decoupling from Europe, because we see them, this administration sees them as more of a leech or more of a beneficiary, and trying to partner with somebody that's more on equal footing economically and natural resource wise, and that requires a partnership with Russia, and then Europe becoming a consumer, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's very manipulative on the part of the Americans because they forced the decoupling between Europe and Russia, and now they're forcing a coupling between themselves and Russia, with Europe as the beneficiary on the United States' teat. Not on Russia's. They're pushing the European Union to buy LNG from the United States at a premium price. That's next. And peace really isn't that close. You might have been streaming, but there's a response. Marco Rubio said that if no progress is made in the next few days, we're leaving this. We're done.
Yeah, I played. Yeah, I showed that clip.
Early, yeah.
Because that is fascinating to me. Because that's not. God, man, 2 things. I want to come back to that part. First, the U.S., according to the New York Times, have been killing Russians for the last 3 years. Put in context, right? We've been directing events on the ground. We were giving them the weapons. We were giving them the money. We were giving them the intelligence. We were telling them where they needed to hit. And if we think of 100,000-200,000 Russians that died in a conflict, then it's hard to not put that on the U.S., especially considering the U.S. is arguing that any weapon that the Houthis fire are coming from Iran, and so Iran is responsible.
Right, and so Russia doesn't pick that up. Yeah,
so right off the bat. Now, Russia doesn't acknowledge that, because if they do, they're stuck with the fact that the U.S. has been killing Russians for the last 3 years. I do think that they don't want hostilities. Meaning, if they can make a deal with the U.S., I think they would.
Sure.
And especially if it's an economic deal where it's like, we're making profits. Okay, they may be okay with that. Even if it's like, we don't want you to be your buddies. We know what you've done. We know that you've overthrown this government. We know that you ignored myths. We know that you kicked that word. Meaning, we know the history of the stuff, even though you may not care about it because you was the one that was doing it. So, agreed. I totally understand that from a human being point of view. But relationships got to be built on something. And you have to start somewhere to kind of grow a relationship. And I don't want to be at odds with anybody,
Mhm.
Russia or China. And I feel like if we can forge a relationship, we should do so. That's my take on it, right?
Right.
So I accept his optimism. Like
Well,
it is grand optimism, right? Like
yeah,
that is
but
like
relationships require some sort of stability and predictability and trust. And
agreed.
unfortunately, we do not have stability and predictability, and trust takes years to rebuild. So
True.
this administration developing a solid friendship with Russia is a pipe dream. I think that people in the West mistake that Russia's quietness or Russia's reluctance to be very brash publicly is a sign of their complacency with the negotiations. That's not true. Russia just doesn't. Russians saying words are wind. They don't talk unless there's not something to talk about, and if they're not talking, then nothing happened.
Let's be honest
So
about something else too. He's being maneuvered. Like he is not a negotiator. Putin, Lavrov, Medvedev, all of these people are trained negotiators that have been there for decades or like 16 years or something like that. I would wager to you that they knew exactly how to maneuver him and Trump. Money. Hey,
Oh,
you want a business deal? We'll send Kirilov. Kirilov is a business guy. Talk to him. And they sit there and they talk to Kirilov. And they're like, whoa, we like what we're hearing. So
exactly.
immediately, right off the bat, you have somebody who's speaking Trump's language of, oh, money, there's money somewhere,
Yeah, that's the good part, is that it's a more even keel. They're more on even footing at this point. It's not a 90s Russia. It's not even an early 2000s Russia. So at least it's not like they're taking advantage of the Russians. It's nothing like that. No. The Russians know what they're doing. It's just that I don't think that they're going to be taken advantage of. And I think that the United States is going to find that an unpleasant surprise. And something that Putin has stressed, I think it was Putin, I know it was a Russian official, is the fact that our president changes every 4 years, sometimes 8. And to them, they're like, why would I make an agreement with you that really only has the chance to kind of stay in power for the maximum of 5-6 years? Why? So you can rearm and attack me again. And Trump doesn't have a very good legacy of upholding these sort of treaties. He ripped up the JCPOA, and now he looks like a fool trying to get the JCPOA back into place. Pretty much, just an altered version of the JCPOA. They think that Putin doesn't pay attention to that. You didn't even honor the agreements of the previous administration. You actually ripped them up out of spite. So why would the Russians want to enter into any kind of deal with a country like that?
1000% agree. I think I am more optimistic than you are, though.
I am too. I'm just saying, I'm just pushing back because you're taking the white pill and I'll take the black pill.
Right.
I think in the end they wind up in an amicable sort of foreign policy relation, which I would like to see. But I am cautious because I don't want to see that at the sacrifice of a relation between Russia and China, or more animosity from the United States towards China. It should be a multipolar world led by the United States, Russia, and China, not by the United States and Russia subjugating China or another combination thereof. And I understand the Chinese threat that they perceive. I understand where they're coming from, but that also needs to be considered, because while they're not a package deal, China and Russia, they're not going to allow you to sabotage their relationship. This idea that Russia's going to leave China for the United States right now at this juncture is just, I just don't see that happening.
Right there. And so I guess for my take, I agree with you. If they think that, they're out of their minds. Trump cannot be trusted under any circumstances, right?
No.
Nor do I think Russia trusts Trump, regardless of what they say. They would say these nice things, oh, we trust Trump. No, they don't. Oh, we believe, no, they don't. But I do think that from their point of view, even if it's for 3 years, we can get a less hostile interaction. We'll take it. If we can get diplomatic relations, we'll take it. I mean, because keep in mind, under Joe Biden, they didn't have any of that. Right. They would even say, we don't even care about the sanctions because we're not trying to get it. But we do want diplomatic relations with the U.S. It is dangerous to not be able to communicate. So we want those things. Yeah. We want flights going back.
Yeah, please give us our flights back, please.
Yeah, give us our flights back. We want a normal relationship with the U.S., even if it's only 2 or 3 years. We want it, right? So I do think those are things that they want. If Trump can get a business, I feel more optimistic on this. And the only reason I say that is they're talking about like trillions of dollars of business that are contracts on some level and interactions in those contracts. Now, again, as you put it, Trump rips up stuff in a heartbeat. Trump's going to be out in 3 years. Who the hell knows who's going to come behind
You
him?
sure
And
about that?
yeah, relatively so. Yeah, I think I am. Or he's going to die in like 5. Like he's old, right? So either way, in the same speed that Donald Trump was able to come in and upturn, the next guy could do the same thing, which is what that means. So from a Russian point of view, how do I trust that? How do I trust that? So I agree with you on that front. Under no circumstances is Russia going to change their relationship with China. None. Whatever deals they make with the US is separate and distinct from China, which makes it the other interesting point of any contest that they're having with China is ultimately also a contest with Russia. Anything that they're going on with Iran is ultimately a contest with Russia also. They're bumping up against those three in every way and everything that they do. But I do think he has a chance for a deal, maybe, if the Europeans, give me your take on the Europeans. They seem
Everybody
to be
needs to read this book, okay? If you're going to go,
multipolarity.
if you're going to go negotiate with the Russians, because what you said is so important. It's that the decisions and deals with the Russians, that they won't allow them to at least not damage the relations with China, their relations with Iran. And that's literally the concept of multipolarity. Like peace is beneficial to all, and a subjugation is actually detrimental to all. So the United States is, and that's why, Rubio said, we're actually moving into a period of multipolarity. And I'm like, well, then they better start studying, because multipolarity doesn't mean a US hegemon and then
Right.
everybody else kind of has their share of power that you like kind of monitor. It doesn't mean a US Russia partnership that subjugates China and Iran. And the backing off of the Iranian strikes and the progress on those talks actually is a positive sign for multipolarity.
Yeah.
It's the China issue that kind of is the one. And this administration sees China as a direct adversary. And I think that that's going to be the issue. I understand where they're coming from, and I don't believe that China is the enemy, but I can understand why some people would. But yeah, I don't think that they're looking at a world the same way that people in the East do.
Oh, of course not. I mean, the trade war is a good example. I mean, I think we have an insecure America at this point, and it's insecure in an economic sense and insecure in a financial sense. And in a military sense, we just got our asses handed to us in Ukraine. I mean, NATO was around for like 50 years, and we spent all of that money, all of those generals, all of the resources against the Soviet Union. Soviet Union goes away, NATO stays. And the individual Russia beats them, outproduces them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a big deal, right?
Yes.
That's a canary in the coal mine. And then you get China with Trump coming in saying, I'm going to now flex economic muscle, and I'm going to show the world that America is still dominant economically. And we're going to sanctions for you, tariffs for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you get China saying, F off.
Or, okay, do your worst is really.
Yeah, do your worst. We're not doing that.
Do your worst.
Yeah. And China goes toe to toe and starts, we're not taking your beef. Maybe we don't take your soybeans. Hey, maybe we're going to get gas from Canada. We're not going to take your airlines. We're going to raise tariffs to 125%. And then go further, say, we are with this to the bitter end.
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty astonishing. Trump, at that point, realizes, oh my God, I'm stuck in a trade war, and tries to go to other countries, by the way, that he's been browbeating for the last 3 months, to try to isolate China, and can't do it. That's amazing. Like, that's a different world than the 1980s, the end of history. That's not the end of history. That's something else. And that I don't know what to make of it entirely.
Well, China doesn't come with a contingent of soft power that's going to subjugate your population, run color revolutions, and brainwash them all. China doesn't come and say, you must open up your economy and your borders to my multinational companies. They just don't. It's not the same ideology. It's much more preferential. It's much more, again, this is multipolarity, is allowing states to exercise at least, and that's why this book is so good, because it talks about why culture, religion, and stuff like that is so important, and why Western soft power helps to destroy the potential of multipolarity. That element, it doesn't come with China. China doesn't want to impose the Chinese way of life on other people because it's solely Chinese. It's unique to the Chinese, and they understand that. China is also a warrior civilization state. So we're talking to a state that's been around for 5,000 years. You think that they're going to let us defeat them over trinkets? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is nothing.
They said it. It was like, we were here for 5,000 years. You're a
we've-
new
yeah.
upstart.
We've
like-
talked about it before, I think, and if not, I've repeated until I'm blue in the face. You'll never defeat a country that was instilled with the ideas of communalism, communism, because they understand the huge sacrifice made for the greater good. An individualistic society is never going to beat a communalist society in a war like this, because we are not willing to sacrifice for our neighbor. Here, it's a zero-sum game. In China, it's if one starves, we all starve. Or if my neighbor falls, I fall. It's all about upholding, because the party is the people are the party. Here, we're not even involved in that at all. It's if I don't make it, if my neighbor has a lot, that means I have less.
Yes,
So,
that's what we think.
Yes.
It's a capitalistic society, right? Like you're always on some level taking from somebody else, or the relationships are just kind of warped. Have you ever read this book by Beaver, Anthony Beaver, called Stalingrad? I think it was Stalingrad in Berlin. Those books should be read back to back. It's when you read Stalingrad, then you read the Berlin. It is
Fall of Berlin, the downfall.
What is it called?
I think the Berlin one is called Berlin: The Downfall, and then
That might be it.
Stalingrad one is just named Stalingrad.
Oh,
he has a ton of them. There's he has
so
the Battle
good.
of Arnhem, D-Day, Second
So,
World War, Ardennes.
If you read Stalingrad and then the Battle of Berlin, it's almost like bookends, because it's almost like the military in Stalingrad just marches to Berlin, or elements of it. It is fascinating. But one of the things he points out early on in the book, he says the sacrifice of the Soviet soldier, and this is opportune because we're talking about the anniversary, right? The sacrifice of the Soviet soldier is something that Western governments can't fathom. Like how far they're willing to go, what they were willing to accept was unfathomable. That Western troops
would never
will fight a certain amount and then say, okay, I'm done. Like, it's almost like you have to, you expend just enough where you feel like I've done enough. And that wasn't present on the Eastern Front. Those people, you were going to die. And so you fought even to the point of death. And the people in the West can't fathom it. They didn't see it. That wasn't the war that they were fighting in France. That wasn't the war they were fighting in the Battle of Berlin. It goes to the communal thing. Like, you guys are brothers in this. You guys are together in this. It's a communist country fighting this kind of larger war. I don't know. It's fascinating.
Well, they also stress their nationalism very heavily. They've always told people, you're Russian first, you're Chechen second, you're Russian first, you're Yakut second, like whatever you are, you're always Russian first. We don't have that here. They never say, oh, you're American. You say, I'm an Italian American. I'm an African American. The African or the Italian comes first.
Oh God, you said something else. Culture. I get that China may not impose their culture.
It seeps out. There's exchange. Yeah.
There's no way around it, right? Even American culture, the soft power ended up being a weapon of sorts. Right. It's like, the big stores, the big commodities, the hamburgers.
It would take China decades to even get to that point after all the anti-Chinese propaganda that's been circling for over a century. So there's that. I also don't see them psychologically enforcing it the way that the United States does. The United States purposefully tries to push its soft power. And that's always been a complaint of mine about China, is that they have no soft power whatsoever. Nobody is saying, I want to emulate the Japanese have more soft power than the Chinese. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing because we want cultures to remain sovereign and true to themselves in the way that they feel they need to be. So that's not a bad thing. I don't think that Chinese culture needs to really seep out. Keep the great firewall up. Cultural exchange is good, but not if it's at the behest of the government.
No, that's fair.
Be
I mean, the
organic.
U.S. coming in and saying, "Hey, you need to accept."
Here's your NGOs. You will follow them, and we will build your schools, and we will teach you what you need to know. That's exactly what they did in the Balkans. That's why everybody in the Balkans speaks English. All their schools are Western. They're all Western-based schools.
Wow. So, okay, we talked about Europe. We had the negotiations. I think I'm slightly more optimistic, even though I don't know how that's going to work out, because Europe is doing everything in their power to stop it. And when you get Mark Rutte going into, I forget where he was, but basically saying, yeah, once peace is achieved in Ukraine, we'll revisit this thing of NATO. Okay, dude, no. Right? Like, they obviously can hear you say that in a microphone. No. When you get the Brits and the French, and I think like the Balkan states, not the Balkan states, the Baltic states, thank you. When they're like, yeah, we're gonna have a coalition of the willing. We're gonna go in. And it's like, dude, no. It's almost like they're having a parallel track of negotiations with the explicit point of killing Trump's negotiations. That's amazing. Like Vance is saying, I don't want you to be vassals, but you kind of need them to be vassals.
Yeah, because if you give them their sovereignty, they're literally going to go against you and turn toward China. That's exactly the pivot that I see them making, is they're becoming more amicable to China. While the United States tries to force them into a deal with LNG. That's one of the issues that's happening right now. I don't know what will happen. It depends on what heads prevail in Europe. I think that they're becoming very disenchanted with the United States. Europeans blame us for a lot of their issues with immigration. And
as they should.
As they should.
The Syrian war, and all of those people went flooding into Europe.
5 or 6 million Syrians in Germany, over 60% of which are on government assistance. That is a huge burden on the system. And you have to ask yourself, was this a feature or a bug? Did they mean to do this? Because I feel like they might have meant to do this. The United States, I'm saying, is that kind of, weaken Europe economically in a way. And it actually deindustrialized Germany to a degree.
But when you talk to Europeans, they don't often see it. Like the individual Europeans, if you say, do you associate that with America? They're like, what are you talking about? It's weird.
Yeah.
I want to play this clip because you brought this up. And I will let this be the end because I'm keeping you a long time. I'm sorry. So this is pointing out exactly what you said just then about, and just for a moment to set a context for this, it's a bit rich that Trump is doing this. He's like, we've been Europe's whipping posts, and they've been taking advantage.
Oh my God, I hate this.
And if you think about it, like we pushed them into a war. On top of pushing them into a war, who are they buying weapons from? Us. That's money flowing out of Europe.
They had no choice. Like I don't understand. They were under. All right, play the clip. We'll talk about it after.
Okay. I'm just saying it's a bit rich that he's making that argument. That's all.
That Trump is doing this whole actually we're the victims, and you're like,
yeah, we're the victims. They're taking. Everybody's taking advantage of us.
We've never had a war on our shores since like the Civil War. What are you talking about? It's crazy.
We have a deficit with the European Union of $350 billion.
You're supposed to.
And it's going to disappear fast. And one of the reasons and one of the ways that can disappear easily and quickly is they're going to have to buy our energy from us because they need it. They're going to have to buy it from us. They can buy it. We can knock off $350 billion in 1 week. They have to buy and commit to buy a like amount of energy. And we have that. We have more energy than any country in the world. I don't know if you know that. He knows everything. But the one thing he may not know, we have more energy than any country in the world. We have more of every kind of energy, every form of energy, from oil and gas to coal. And people talk about, I call it beautiful, clean coal. As you know, Germany is opening up a coal plant a week. They tried the windmills and it didn't work. They tried all the other solutions and they were ready to.
clip is outrageous.
They're making a coal plant a week in Germany. Wow! Congrats to Germany.
Well, they had to do it because they got off Russian gas. They
'Cause
blew
you
up Nord Stream.
Nord Stream.
Like that's what I mean. That clip is astonishing.
That's why I always mention like goldfish brain, or they just conveniently omit parts. Like they put. So he said the other day, the EU was made to basically rip America off, and I'm like, it's literally the opposite. What is this guy telling Americans? So now this creates even more animosity. The EU was created to centralize power and make it very easy to trade with one bloc. And also to subjugate them. The United States pushed for the EU strongly because of that. They wanted that single economic zone that they could take advantage of. This wasn't so they could rip off the United States. This is crazy. And, for some of us are only 1 or 2 generations moved from immigration from Europe. That's we kind of, I don't want to say we have an attachment to it, but especially if you grew up on the East Coast, in the cities in the East Coast, we were very attached to our ethnicities, and we were very attached to the country. Like my grandparents came from Italy. So it's something like, why do you want to break off our, well, conveniently, Georgia Maloney went to the White House today, but why do you want to break off our relation with the people that are like us, are supposed to be like us? Do you know what I mean? And it's very strange. The alienation of Europe is really strange to me. And their priorities have switched. This administration prioritizes animosity with China and reestablishing all of the dominance in the Latin American sphere. So Europe just is on the back burner. I don't know what they'll do. This LNG thing, I don't think they should go into an LNG contract with the United States, but they should just fix Nord Stream. This war was so, all of the side effects of this war were so frivolous and pointless. The blowing up of Nord Stream, the blowing up of the other pipeline, the Suezda pipeline, the ships in the Baltic Sea, like it's just one thing after another, and it's just it has eroded the sovereignty of the EU as a whole.
We got them to pass sanctions on Russian oil. They didn't want to do it because they understood that Russian oil was necessary for their economy, for their businesses, for their industries. And we got them to pass sanctions on Russian oil. And after we did so, we said, hey, by the way, we have LNG that's 5 times more expensive. You could buy from us. In which case, they were buying it from us. And I remember Macron comes out and says, hey, Joe, we're all in it together, right? No, we're not. This is business. Sorry. You get businesses in Germany going belly up or leaving
and go to China.
I mean, like the notion that he is sitting there, saying they're taking advantage of us and they need to buy our oil to the tune of $350 billion. We can get rid of all of the debt. And if you're a European and you're sitting there like that motherfucker, if you're aware of like the movements that were being made, that they were pushed into, and that they are now in, that they're stuck with. Germany has been in coal plants because they didn't have oil. They didn't want to.
No, he blames it on the windmills. He says the windmills didn't work, so they got to build a coal plant.
That is an amazing
coal plant a week.
That is
I'm working on my Trump impression.
The level of mendacity that comes out this White House is mind blowing.
I love it.
Sarah,
I love it.
I love it. Those clips are funny to me, but they shouldn't be. Like, it's so over the top.
They're funny until I realize there are people that believe this that don't have the contextual knowledge that I have to be like, this guy's just bullshitting. Like, there's Americans that are like, yeah, F those windmills. And you're like, so once I remember that, I get sad again.
Don't tell me that.
Let me enjoy my moment.
Yeah, don't tell me that. I just want to enjoy the clip. Like, I don't want to. It's like I don't want to know that. I hate
those windmills. Hate them.
Alex Jones is funny to me
until
I met somebody who believed Alex Jones.
Oh,
and you're sitting there like, oh, you're serious?
That happened with me and Candace Owens. Like, my good friend is like, I love her and I believe it, and I'm like,
really?
Oh.
Yeah. The Jones thing freaked me out. Because to me, he's an actor.
He's a charlatan, right? He's a carnival show. That's how we look at it.
The shit that he says. He's good at it. Like he's I, when Donald Trump in the first term bombed Syria, and Alex Jones came out and lost, and he did a 30-minute monologue off the top of his head about how they were helping us fight the jihadists. Like he was like in it. He was, and I was like, "Fuck, he's right." Like he's doing as well. That was awesome.
Mhm.
Like the gay frogs or the gay, whatever, the lizard people.
Those are people. That was a bad one.
Yeah, but then you see somebody who oh yeah, I
They-
love his show,
They still believe that there
and
are.
they believe it.
people.
It's terrifying. Sarah Bils, Sarah, look, I am so sorry for the last couple of days. The
I
first
don't-
day, it wasn't me. Entire
I
internet.
saw. I came
Okay.
on and I was like, "Oh Lord!" It's like StreamYard.
It was still going.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, it wasn't live.
God.
It wasn't live. The studio was just open and it said ended, and I was like, "Okay."
Oh,
Something
okay.
happened. Technical difficulties. Because StreamYard is finicky. So I figured it was StreamYard, but I guess it was your internet.
No, it was that apparently my neighbors upstairs, theirs went out. Everybody's went out. I went outside, raging, angry. And it wasn't it wasn't even at anybody. It was just because I don't want my show is a cathedral. Like for me, it is
Oh,
very important.
okay. It's your meditation. Yeah. It's part of the schedule. Once the schedule gets thrown out of whack, you're like,
It's to me, it's sacred. There's very few things that I think are sacred. The show is sacred to me. I mean, I built it. I feel like the audience enjoys it, even if that audience is 200 people, 500 people.
that's a
1,000 people
lot
watching.
for a live show, daily live show. So don't sell yourself short.
Right. I guess my point is, we hit 500 almost immediately every show now.
That's great.
Popping collar.
Yeah.
The other day we hit 800.
Oh my God.
So when I say the show
Okay,
is
for
growing,
Marl's fans, I'm returning to streaming on Sunday. So you'll have to go over to there on Sunday afternoon.
check her out. She is awesome. The same conversation we have here. She is fantastic.
Yeah, we're back to streaming on Sunday. It should be exciting. We'll definitely have you on in the next coming weeks.
Anytime you want me, you got me.
I'm excited. I need it. It's to me,
Sarah
it's my
Bils.
it's my release.
Well, it
Streaming,
allows you to get that stuff out.
yeah.
Yeah, it's it's supposed to bugging the shit out of people constantly. You could just get it out, and the audience can give it back.
And all
And
your
you can-
normal people are like, I don't care about politics, Sarah. And
Yeah.
you're like, why?
but your audience does, right?
Yes, I need to stream to people who care about it.
Yeah. Sarah Bils, independent journalist, U.S. Navy veteran, and co-founder of DD Geopolitics. DD Geopolitics is fantastic. If I'm not mistaken, I probably even have some of the links up now. Looking at some of the content, because I use you guys for content because you guys do such great work. Keep up the work, good work. You guys do fantastic work. I am
Thank you.
I'm over the moon that you guys are going to be streaming. You have been very helpful. Meaning,
Oh,
helpful sounds weird.
anytime. Yes.
You've
please.
been a great guest on the show. You've been willing to come on all the time, and even when it was 100 people. So
I don't care. I never look at the audience. I just go.
You'd be surprised how many people do. You'd be surprised how many people do.
Well, thank you, Jamal. I hope you have a good weekend, and tell your mother to have a very blessed Easter.
Oh, she can hear you. She's probably
Have a blessed Easter, Mom. It was so nice
Yeah.
to meet you. Hopefully, we'll talk again soon. Thank you, Jamal. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You have a good one. Be safe, okay?
Yep.
All right. Sarah Bils, she is fantastic, beautiful, brilliant, all that good stuff. Deeply appreciate it.